here. Things mad. All right, so with the socks. It's something like I said. So I went back over here and I'm trying to find the socks, and I'm like, none of these seem like it. And I'm going through it, and then I find gold toe. Now I know they weren't gold toe. Right. So I was like, it's 16 bucks. That's a lot of money. So eventually I went on Amazon and found they're like, at least $23 socks or something like that. And then they got Walmart's like 16 bucks or something like that, maybe 17. So I'm like, yeah, expensive, but it's a pretty good deal. So I was just about to give up. And then I was like, well, maybe I saw the Dickies might have socks. So on Amazon. So maybe, is there a Dickies section still here? So I started walking around looking for the Dickies section. And I get over to, because I'm thinking if I had a set of work socks that were ankle socks, it's kind of what I'm looking for. Right. But not for 16 bucks for, 6 pair or 17 bucks. So as I'm walking around, I noticed it turned out to be a clearance end cap. But I noticed there's some socks. I'm like, well, what are these? Oh, these are them. So they stopped making them. They're actually like Walmart brand, the Athletic Works. And they're way different than what they're making now. They're making the cheap style that only lasts me. And again, there might be a type there that's better than there might be a cheap type and an expensive. I don't know. I didn't go into that deep, but they weren't. They're too soft. They're like the ones I have on. Like the ones I have on are Hanes, and they're okay, but they just don't feel like they're socks. You know what I mean? They just feel like air. And again, that's good for some things, but. So I look and it's marked at $5 a package, and they're probably like 10 bucks a package, I think. That's why I couldn't find it, because it was over on the clearance end cap. I wanted to buy 12 socks. There's 12 socks there. Uh, and what I might do is I want to take my Hanes and give it to a shelter or something. They always need socks, and I'm really just not interested in these socks. So I wanted to give them, the other 11 pair to charity. I don't want to give it to like Goodwill, because people got to pay for it. Right? You give it to them for free, and then somebody got to come along and pay for it. Right? I mean, if there was a homeless person somewhere panhandling right now, I'd be out there handing them the socks. I'd be, stay right here. I'm going to bring you some socks. Right? Maybe I'll just throw them in a car. I got to go right up to a certain point within the next couple of days or something. So maybe I'll look for some homeless people on the way to the next, or panhandlers at least. They're not all homeless, but if they didn't panhandle, they'd be homeless, a lot of them. And some of them live like in a room or in a shed. Like some of those people live in a shed, man. Imagine being in a shed in this weather. Well, you pay somebody, like $100 a month, and they let you live in their shed, and then you're not like harassed or anything like that, because you're not, you're not out there sleeping somewhere they say you shouldn't. Mm. Right? Some people will rent their shed out. And it's also better than sleeping in the woods. Right? But you're like in somebody's yard that you maybe grew up with, and now you're homeless. Right? Or somebody you met at a party or whatever it is. So, they paid them a little bit of money, and they sleep in the shed. And there's, no cop can harass them there because they're on private property. Right? Right. So that's what they do when they panhandle. Sometimes they pay somebody. Sometimes they can afford a room, especially if they know the person. And then the other thing is sleep in their shed. So yeah, I ended up with this 12 socks I wanted for thing, and I don't think they were that cheap. They may have been, but let me look. What was the markdown? I'll so I don't have them up here. Mm. Definitely at least a couple dollars off per package, I imagine. But again, when I'm looking at what's for sale, they're so thin that I know they're, planned obsolescence there. They're gonna rip, right? And plus, they don't feel like you have a sock on. Right. Feels like I'm walking almost in bare feet. These are substantially cushioned. I'm glad there was an answer, like, I'm not crazy. It wasn't in my app. They didn't come up in the app. I guess if they go out of stock, they don't come the sale doesn't come up in the app. Or, you know what? For a period of time, nothing was showing up in my app. I don't remember what the problem was, but things I was buying, that's probably what it is. It didn't show up in my app. Right. I tried everything. I put the credit cards in that I was using, made sure everything was perfect, and never showed up in my app. But that's them. They have what's called ankle or arch support. So it's like what they do is they put some extra stitching around the arch area. That's how I knew what they were. That's how I knew the other ones weren't them. So just plain old athletic works, but I guess you're not gonna be able to buy them anymore. Want to get that quality, you got to buy $17 gold toe for 6 pair. Right? Nah, you really messed up, Walmart. Those are like so cheap. I think they're the cheap style. Unless you're gonna churn something else out in the near future. I used to buy them because 'cause they're like throwaways. That way you wear them for like, a month each and then throw them away. Correct. I agree, Larry. Trying to figure what I wanna do. I might move up towards Kansas City. So I gotta really figure the next couple days. I might wanna get a storage unit up that way. Right. I don't know if there's any section of Kansas City that's decent or better, like northern Kansas City or something like that. I just don't know. One of the maintenance guys here, he lived in Kansas City. I'll ask him. I gotta find maybe an extended stay for like a month just till I get my bearings. The Lord might want me to do some healing up that way. Right. Well, at least I know I wasn't crazy. But isn't that funny? Isn't that cool? That's how my life's supposed to work. Why? Because Walmart owes me. Everybody owes me. So, like, I should find what I need, and if I don't, it's something should replace it. Shouldn't spend too much. I spent a lot of time there trying to find what was going on. And let me go see if I want to go to my mailbox and see if I have my. Let's see if my self-addressed postage paid envelope showed up the day after I send it. That's part of the psyop. Like if I could hear them after I die, their thing would go, "Oh, you died. See, look, 15 minutes after you died, your wife showed up, man. We don't, you up and died. I mean, how could you give up like that? I told you a woman was just down the street." That's part of their game. So right, they're inserting their corrupt women, their succubi, and their incubee man, the gay incubee man, right, who might actually be succubee. Isn't that funny how it worked out? And then taking the real women out, and they actually end up having sex with a certain percentage of the real women. And then at a certain point, if you let the women in, they're gonna turn you on. It's just a fact of life. Right. And then and then they'll start bringing the kids around while the woman has into your junk, she's in there stimulating your junk while they're bringing around the kids and not allowing any other type of thing to happen. No, it's not a test, no matter whether it's LDS or anybody else. Obviously, with the Sikhs, it was a sex cult. Hopefully, that doesn't happen to the LDS. So everything that's happening now around the LDS, like they're trying to make it explain it like some BS. That's what they way explained it around the Sikhs, the sex cult Sikhs. And then what they'll say, well, even though they're a sex cult, Larry was much more abusive than they were. Sexually abusive. I mean, they're just nuts, man. I'm looking for the one dude. I guess where you at? All right. I guess the workers are working somewhere else. Yeah, he grew up in Kansas City, so he could steer me in the right direction. Right. Thank you, Larry. So I got to work on my VA too. I got to start minding that so I can maybe generate enough power to start that. I mean, I should have never gave the lawyers this part of the case, the one with the hearing. I'd already received the payment. Right. Agreed. But you see how that works. And for all I know, they're working for the deep state too. So again, it is what it is. Something said the woman over here at what is it, Aventura? She was actually fake. She was put up, but I don't know. It could be, it could be Satan. Yeah. Where? Which? What? What's going on here? They got like cones in the middle of the road for nothing, right? And I guess maybe later they're going to use them. Well, they're paving the other section, I guess, and they continued the cones across the street. But when you turn, it's confusing because you're looking at cones like, am I supposed to be on what side of this? But they're just there, right? I'm sitting there thinking, what's going on here? This doesn't make any sense. I know I bought them here. I'm thinking they must have. I actually said it. They must have somebody redid their socks, like a new model, and they don't make them anymore. And shortly after that, that's when that happened. I was getting ready to pay buy the $17 socks. Also, I was like, all of a sudden, a thought came, well, maybe the Dickies section there'll be something like a work sock that's ankle high or something, like quarter ankle, whatever they call it. Right. So when I was walking around looking for that, I found the other one. 100%. Okay, trying to get me to go to a bar. So this is one of the risks because now that the LES is like that, they're going to try to get me to drink. They're trying to get me to be sexual. Right? It's a scam. And metaphysical. That part's metaphysical. Yeah. Well, sent me a clue. A truck came by Barbie Clean. You can go out with the bar, go to the bar. So they go, "Oh, he drinking anyway." I'll tell you what, I when I went to the when I went to and there's no doubt that Hughes and all the martial criminal minds were physically operating in that Grace Fellowship, and I've had a feeling the CIA was part of it. The CIA would use that church for overseas deployment, but even especially for training, right? So short deployments with right, the church, and so KGB uses it, China uses it, everybody uses that kind of stuff. So it's no big secret, except the people. It's a secret. So I never drank that much in my life, and I wasn't I still had control, but every night I go home from work and I drink wine, like at least 2 glasses, if not 3. And I never drank like that before until I went to that church. Now, actually, if you're Jewish, they'd be, "What's wrong with that? You're supposed to do that." So religion's a very interesting thought on this planet. Religion is a very interesting thought on this planet. Hopefully you're hearing me. Well, because the screen did something funky. No, stay peaceful, praise God, and all. Stay peaceful, praise God, and all that you do, praise God.